Hello, I'm Mark Ells, Town Manager, and I'm here to provide my community update. I'm going to start this week a little differently by talking about the upcoming elections. If you have access to a computer and the internet and are able to log into the Town of Barnstable website, I would encourage you to if you have questions. Right on the front of our homepage, you can click on election information and you can take a look at a whole bunch of different ways that you can vote in the upcoming elections. Our town clerk, Ann Quirk, provided an update last night at town council and has been communicating out to our public regularly on this year's upcoming election. A lot of questions because you're able to early vote, you're able to mail-in vote, and you're able to vote traditionally. Start with the vote traditionally. It'll be the same as it always is in your normal um, you know, voting place. Voting early will be available. Voting in person early will be available at the Barnstable Adult Community Center. And we're going to be doing it from August 22nd till August 28th. And on Saturday and Sunday, the hours are 8 to 1. And on Monday through Friday, the hours will be 8:30 to 4:30. And then you can also mail in vote. And you can mail it in or you can bring it here to Town Hall and put it in a lockbox. There's one right in the entryway. And we're going to be putting another one out at one of our two handicap locations in case people have difficulty accessing the lockbox at the front door. And if you ask for your mail-in and then you do not use your mail-in, you can still vote in person if that's something you want to do. Can't do both, but you can even though you ask for the mail-in, if you do not use it, then you can vote the other way. Those are some of the common questions that I'm being asked, and I know Ann Quirk and our other staff are being asked this regularly. We're still in the phased recovery relative to COVID-19, and you'll hear at the end of this community update a briefing from our superintendent of schools. We have to continue to socially distance. We have to continue to wear face coverings when required. We have to continue to understand the orders and directives coming from our governor, and we need to follow them. And we are following them here in Barnstable. And it does create challenges at times. There is conflicting information at times, and your government is understanding those conflicts, whether it be our school department, at our beaches, or over at the adult community center. We try to understand and get clarity, and then we look at our operations and we proceed. Barnstable has remained open and functional and provided a majority of their programs throughout this pandemic, and we will continue to. To do that, though, we need your support. We need your understanding of these issues, and we need you to comply and take personal responsibility relevant to these issues. This isn't an argument. We've told you and at times I find myself discussing with the public the merits of the governor's orders and directives. We are following them. So that you can come in and have that discussion, but certainly at the end of the discussion, I am going to tell you we are following them, and we are going to hold our community accountable to follow them, and we will continue to do so until this is over. Looking specifically at our operations, our beaches are open, It's been a very successful summer. For whatever we lost in the beginning, perhaps, as we began to develop into our summer season, we've certainly caught up. Our numbers are there. We've had good active use of our facilities. And, I can't say enough about our staff in modifying the way that we provide service at our beaches, and not just at our beaches, at our marinas, at our golf courses, in our youth summer leisure programs, in all of the activities in town, on our main street. We've been able to adapt to this environment and hopefully help our citizens, help our businesses, help our visitors enjoy their summer to the best that we can. We still have challenges moving forward. Opening our youth and community center, the controls are a key part of managing this issue. When I speak regularly with our county, well, certainly at the state level, but with our county, with Cape Cod Healthcare, looking at our own local statistics here with our Board of Health, we're in a good place relevant to the challenges that we see facing our nation. And I mean that in the sense that we have very low, it is flattened. The flattening is consistent. We have very few positive cases on Cape Cod and in Barnstable, and that's a good thing. And we don't want that to change. Even though we had a big influx of people from all over the country occur in certainly July and continuing into August. So that's a good thing in the controls that we've put in place. And our approach to this has at least to date shown positive results, and we're going to continue to do it. But opening facilities such as the Youth and Community Center take a tremendous amount of thought. There will be no specific group that will drive us to open any aspect of a facility prematurely. And the controls that are in place are the ones that our governor puts in place for us. So we will, again, be following those, whether it's bringing back sheets of ice, whether it's the size of a group that's allowed to come in, or how those groups are allowed to use our facilities. For example, I am very reluctant to reopen locker rooms at the HYCC. Hugely problematic for us. We are looking to bring a sheet of ice back up. Perhaps two, but at this point we may repurpose the second sheet of ice for other community needs that we have. We're also looking to use the facility potentially to set up stations for our youth so that they can have a place to go and work remotely on their schoolwork. That isn't always that easy for our youth, even though our schools have been great in providing the technology to them. A controlled environment is also required. Certainly our schools in school offer that, but when we get out into life, we need some controls to help our youth, I believe. So we're looking at these options. We'll be developing these options. A little bit different challenge with the Adult Community Center, but certainly a population at risk for this virus. We will very cautiously look at any programming at this facility until this pandemic is over. I have a lot of questions about, we want that open. We have such and such a thing scheduled. I understand that. But I also understand that we need to keep proper controls in place so that we don't put at risk an at-risk group of people. And so that will be a difficult facility to reopen until this is over. And again, follow, please, the update that our superintendent is going to give you after my community update on how we're progressing with our schools. It would be redundant for me to explain this. So certainly listen to what Meg Mayo Brown has to say, be supportive of it, ask questions of it. And we're all here to get our kids in our community, back to life. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the rescheduled fireworks. We were hoping to do them on Labor Day, but once again, those types of activities are not allowed under our governor's orders, and therefore we will not be proceeding this season with fireworks. So I've talked with you about voting. I've talked with you about our continued management of this COVID-19 situation. I've talked with you about municipal operations. Moving forward, we will continue to follow this phased recovery that our governor has laid out for us. We will continue to try to clarify where there is conflict in the various directives that we're being given by different state agencies and other organizations that are looking to offer programs, services, conduct business. We will do all we can to resolve that. I do see this continuing into next year. We are very conservatively managing our fiscal budgets and looking at our revenues. And we are actually, Barnstable is in a very good position, but we will continue to monitor closely, and we will continue to keep the proper controls in place, and we will continue to manage our municipal finances conservatively until we see this situation stabilize, and we are confident that we can move forward aggressively. And if you live in Barnstable or you do business here, you know that we move aggressively in providing programs and services. So we've had to step a little bit back from that, but I do expect once it stabilizes for us to resume those many wants and needs that our community expresses to us. So please stay tuned and ask questions. We're all here, we're all working, and we look forward to providing a high quality service to our community. Thank you for listening.
Hi, everyone. This is Superintendent of Schools Meg Mayo Brown with this week's update on reopening schools for the fall. This week, I hope to cover some new topics. Those include required flu shots for students by December 31st, 2020, some additional information on our cohort assignments, that's coming soon, the process to request a change in cohort, a little bit more information about our Wednesday remote learning, the addition of principal Zoom sessions to start to connect with parents in very school-specific ways, and a bit of an update on our high school athletic structure. So yesterday, the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, or the Department of Public Health, issued requirements for new immunization for the flu shot. This, what I've pasted here on this slide, comes directly out of their guidance and requirements. So they've indicated to us that all Massachusetts students enrolled in preschool through grade 12, regardless of whether the student is participating in in-person instruction or using a hybrid or remote learning, must receive the flu shot. And you'll see on the second bullet, they've indicated that students need to receive their flu vaccine by December 31st, 2020. There are exemptions due to medical and religious reasons. We're going to post some additional information on our website, the reopening tab at the website. We'll go ahead and post the frequently asked question guide that the Department of Public Health released with this information yesterday, but we did want to alert our families that this is a new requirement that the state is implementing to make sure that all students do have their flu shots. It's intended to support and assist our healthcare system in terms of being ready to handle COVID cases by reducing the number of flu cases. Thanks to all of our families, parents, and guardians that were able to participate in our family survey over the past week or so. The response rate of the survey was 76%. That's a great response rate for us. For families that were not able to respond or didn't respond, we've placed those students into an in-person learning model by default. So the results of our survey indicate that 960 students are identified for remote learning. Again, that's Cohort D. That's where students are receiving 100% of their learning through remote means. And that close to 4,000 students will be with us for in-person learning, whether that's in-person learning through our elementary model or our hybrid in-person learning in grades 4 through 12. I just want to, again, provide a quick review of our learning models. In grades preschool through grade 3, in-person learning will be taking place Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays, with remote learning on Wednesdays. We do have a remote-only cohort, so that's Cohort D for those grade levels as well. In grades 4 through 12, you'll see we have listed here, there are 4 cohorts. Again, we have to break our students into a cohort model at those grade levels because we cannot safely accommodate in-person learning for all students at any one time. So just the rationale for a hybrid model at those grade levels. Cohort A will be in person Mondays and Tuesdays and learn through remote means on Wednesdays, Thursday, and Friday. Cohort B is in person on Thursdays and Fridays, and we'll have remote learning Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Cohort C is in person all 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and remote on Wednesday. And then Cohort D, as a reminder, those are our students who are learning 100% of their learning takes place through remote means. So they are learning remotely all 5 days of the week. There's a lot of information on this slide, so let me just unpack it a bit. We've completed our cohort assignments for grades 4 through 12. Our goals in assigning students to their cohort are really fall within 3 areas. First, we wanted to keep households together. So in other words, we didn't want to have a student at BUE attend cohort A and have a sibling perhaps at the high school attend cohort B. We tried to keep households in the same cohort. We also, again, due to physical capacity in our buildings, needed to evenly distribute cohort A and cohort B. So we tried to strive for an equal number of students in cohort A and in cohort B. And then we needed to evenly distribute across grade levels. So if we just take a look over here at the chart, you can see this is what it's looking like for Barnstable High School by each grade level. This column A, represents the number of students in cohort A. Column B indicates the number of students in cohort B. Column C, again, number of students in cohort C. And then column D is 100% remote, so they're not attending any in-person portion of school. And these are the number of students who have opted for remote in each of the grade levels at the high school. When we look at Barnstable Intermediate School, again, you can see by column, cohort A, cohort B, C, and D. And then again, for Barnstable United Elementary School, there's the information there for each of our cohorts. Cohort C, again, those are that's an option for students who need to attend school in person to the greatest extent possible. Our thinking and designing Cohort C really followed the Department of Education guidelines for prioritizing groups of students for Cohort C. Here are the student groups that are contained within Cohort C. All of our students with disabilities on IEPs, unless parents opted for Cohort D, our students with disabilities are placed in Cohort C. Our students, SLIFE stands for students with limited or interrupted formal education, or with English language proficiency below 3.0. So we use that as a benchmark to determine our English language learners who needed to be in Cohort C. Our children who are in foster care or families that are experiencing homelessness are in Cohort C. Children of our staff members are in Cohort C if the staff member requested. We did include students who were chronically disengaged in remote learning from last spring. We included students with active 504 plans. And again, we included all shared households of the above group. So what that means, if any siblings of any of these student groups are also included in Cohort C. So if I think about a family that might have 2 students attending Barnstable Public Schools and one of those students has an IEP, that student is certainly in Cohort C, but so is their sibling. Again, we're trying to do that to accommodate the needs of what we anticipate might be the needs of our families. So cohort assignments are coming soon. We're going to release them on Monday, August 24th. Please check your spam email folders. The information will be coming out via email. We've heard from a number of our parents who were not receiving our surveys, but when they looked in the junk or spam folder within their email, the information was contained there. So please check those sources by end of day on Monday if you haven't seen anything from us. So we're going to email all parent and guardian contacts on Monday to notify which cohort your child has been placed in. So if you have a child who's in preschool through 3rd grade, you'll receive a notification that your child's either in person or in Cohort D, again, depending on what you expressed via the survey. And for grades 4 through 12, we're going to send individual notification, and a student would be assigned to Cohort A, B, C, or D. Again, we relied on the family survey results to guide us in terms of those assignments. Now, we anticipate that parents, when you receive the information about which cohort your child is assigned to, you may want to request a change of cohort. That is certainly possible, but it will be on a case-by-case basis. The model that we needed to use in order to build our cohort relied on 2 things. First, the actual capacity of the building to safely serve students in an in-person model. So building capacity, think, our desks need to be 6 feet apart as an example. So how many students can we actually fit into the building with those physical requirements? That was one parameter that we needed to use for in-person learning. The other parameter is transportation. So we needed to be able to build our cohorts in a manner that would allow us to transport as many children as possible. So if you're going to request a change in cohort, if you're in Cohort A but want Cohort B, or you're in Cohort B and you need Cohort A, we'll entertain those requests, but please know if you're requesting the changes between A and B, transportation cannot be provided for the new cohort because we built our model on transportation service. So if you're interested in pursuing a request to change a cohort, the request absolutely has to be made to the building principal. They'll receive those requests and review them on a case-by-case basis. They'll rely on space availability in their building as to whether or not they can accommodate the request to change cohorts. Again, we talked about changes between Cohort A and B will rely on parent transportation. Bus transportation will not be available if you switch out of cohorts. Now, if you're in Cohort A or B, but wanted remote learning, which is Cohort D, this is the time to make that switch. And vice versa, if you're in Cohort D, remote learning, but you've changed your mind for your child, that's fine, and you want your child to attend in-person learning, we can make that accommodation, but we need to make it during the week of August 24th. So that's why we've noted here, parents and guardians have until Friday, August 28th to request a change of cohort. So that really gives, the information will go out on Monday. Families have that week to put in a request for a change of cohort to their building principal. As of August 31st, our cohorts will be finalized because we need to begin the process of assigning our teachers to Cohort D. Schools need to begin to develop their class rosters. So we need to go with what we have on August 31st to be able to make those determinations for teacher assignments. We plan on releasing teacher assignments by September 8th to all of our students and families. I know that's much later than what families are used to in a traditional school year. I would just ask for your patience and understanding that there are a lot of moving pieces, that once we finalize our cohort on August 31st, we're giving ourselves about a week or so to do all the work that we need to do in terms of assigning teachers, which has some human resource implications for us as well. So many new moving pieces, which is why we need until September 8th to be able to notify you of your child's teacher. Let's just talk a little bit about remote Wednesdays. I've had some question like, really, what a remote Wednesday is going to look like, whether you're in an in-person model or you're in a cohort hybrid model. Wednesdays are remote learning for all students in the district. We've changed it up quite a bit from the spring. Wednesdays are part of our structured learning time for students. In other words, the state has set an expectation that there's a number of hours that students need to meet as they're engaged in teaching and learning. Wednesdays count. Attendance will be taken. So if we just take a look here at the variety of models we have for Wednesdays, again, sort of dependent upon grade level span. Our elementary students, we anticipate will be engaged in synchronous learning in the morning and asynchronous in the afternoon. So that means in the morning, our elementary students are signing on with their devices. They'll be interacting with their teachers throughout the morning, and then we'll have asynchronous or independent work assigned for the afternoon. In a similar fashion, students at Barnstable United, our 4th and 5th graders, will also have synchronous learning scheduled throughout the day. It's just going to depend on what their individual schedules are. There'll be more information from from the principal when he's closer to being able to determine classroom rosters and therefore schedules. But at BUE, there'll be synchronous learning scheduled throughout the day where students are receiving extra support in math and English language arts, as well perhaps as school counseling or other student support activities. We do anticipate it's also an opportunity for social studies and science asynchronous learning on Wednesdays with our 4th and 5th graders. 6th and 7th graders, they're going to be in small group synchronous support sessions. There'll be 4 40-minute blocks of time for teachers to meet with their students on Wednesdays. There'll be additional opportunities for students to meet with school counselors and other support staff on Wednesdays. And finally, at the high school for grades 8 through 12, Wednesdays will be devoted to small group synchronous support throughout the day. It's going to depend on the student's schedule in terms of what those support sessions look like. Again, as more information will be coming out about that in the coming days and weeks. Principals are going to start scheduling Zoom sessions next week. So beginning next week, please be on the lookout for information from your building principal about opportunities for drop-in Zoom sessions. That's where principals will begin sharing some very school-specific information and describing school-specific routines that they are developing in response to opening in person. We see this as an opportunity for two-way communication around school reopening. It's a way to connect with your building principal around specific questions you might have or feedback that you want to give us in relation to our fall reopening. And in terms of high school athletics, this week, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and MIAA released guidance. The MIAA voted on an athletic structure. You'll see here fall, winter, a floating season, and spring seasons are identified by dates. This was the structure that was voted on by MIAA. Sports are categorized into low, moderate, and high risk. As an example, a low risk fall sport would be golf or cross country. The other typical high school sports for Barnstable High School are considered moderate or high. So we belong to the Cape and Islands League. That league is meeting to make recommendations around which fall sports schools should participate in the league. So they'll continue to meet and make recommendations. And we don't have any information yet on eligibility for remote learners in terms of participating in high school athletics. as soon as that information comes to us, we will get that out to parents. So I would say to our student athletes and their families, stay tuned. You see there's some movement here with athletics, and we're just continuing to receive additional guidance, but also understand what the Cape and Islands League is going to recommend. We're waiting on that to see sort of what the results of those recommendations in terms of what the fall season will look like for our various teams. Finally, next steps. Again, a reminder, cohort placement assignments come out on Monday. Please check your email. There is a process for cohort change requests that those requests need to go directly to your building principal. Now that we have our cohort assignments, we can work on transportation to determine the availability of transportation K through 12. My update next week should include some very specific information about what we're able to do with transportation. So again, thank you for your patience while we're working on that. A reminder, if you are assigned and choose to stay into Cohort D, which is remote learning only, we ask that once school starts, or actually beginning on August 31st, students will stay in that cohort, and we're going to permit transitions out of Cohort D at the end of marking periods. Next week, I'll touch upon the annual student update information. It is critical that parents and guardians update student information for us. That's an electronic system we have. I think it's so important now more than ever that we have accurate information from all of our parents and guardians in terms of your contact information, as well as any update on health or medical information for your children. So more information will be coming out about that next week. School-specific information, please contact your building principals. Watch for those Zoom sessions coming up. And again, as new information comes to us out of the state, as an example, the new requirement for flu shots, we'll continue to put that on our reopening portion of our website. We want that to serve as sort of one-stop shopping for all of our stakeholders in terms of understanding where we are with fall reopening. That concludes this week's update. As always, thank you very much for your support and patience and understanding as we continue to navigate our way through school reopening.